time for a couple of questions from the audience?
We have time for one question. Yes.
Hi. My question is directed to George Smitherman. When you were in power as Minister of Energy, I know that a lot of the things with the Green Energy Act were excellent, I think. I think the solar power and the wind power and a lot of the plans that are being made are really great and really positive for Ontario. I have one concern, which is with the gas power plant. And specifically, this week there was a private member's bill regarding the location, how close it should be to homes and schools, because there's one currently 400 meters. I just wondered what your perspective on that is.
Well, the issue of Ontario's energy supply mix is in transition. Once the government of Ontario chose to eliminate coal, which is a source of electricity generation that you can that is responsive. If you need more electricity and you have coal, you throw a little more coal on and it produces more electricity very quickly. As you rely on more renewable energy, like solar and like wind, which is not as predictable, it's necessary to have solutions which can address the fluctuations in peak demand which occur. As an example, if a whole bunch of people turn on their air conditioners at the same time, the necessity for more electricity can emerge in an extraordinary way. Gas-fired power plants, which are used as peakers, that is, only on when demands require, are the solution that Ontario is moving forward with. They're substantially cleaner than any other form of combustible, and they give you that flexibility. Now, obviously, there aren't very many people that want more electricity generation occurring in their neighborhoods. Councillor Pantalone opposed the Portland's Energy Centre, which is providing 550 megawatts of reliable power as required. The Ministry of the Environment gives guidance around where these things can be properly sited. Ontario's emission standard has been increased more recently, and any new gas-fired power plant in the province of Ontario has to meet these more stringent conditions. But I totally recognize this is part of the hard decision that goes along with being part in government. It's very difficult to find solutions which are pleasing to all. And I'm, of course, very conscious of some of the concern in those communities. That's why before it happened, I went into those communities, held public meetings, and took the tough questions from people in the communities.
Thank you, George. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to address that? The question is... Can we get the mic down on the floor up, please, for a second?
Every candidate can respond to this, or what we could do is ask specifically, does anyone have a question for Rocco Rossi, or would you like to respond?
Hello. Rocco, let's we can get Rocco to discuss this.
I'm not going to use all this political jargon. The simple answer to your question is no. The community doesn't want it. The kids around the school, the parents don't want it. So no, the project will not go ahead when I'm there. Forget all this running around and using all this political jargon. This is nonsense. And this is the rhetoric that we hear over and over and over again. I'm a straight shooter. Let's lay the cards on the table. Not let's be using all this political jargon that I've been saying for years and years. All these professional politicians. Let's get rid of the professional politicians. Let's get the people in here that understand how to create a job, that know how to meet a payroll, that want to do away with all these luxury perks that these councillors ride on your back and you're paying for it year after year. And it's frustrating to sit up here and listen to the same old nonsense from these professional politicians. It's agonizing. I feel sorry for the little guy out there. And mark my words, when I'm mayor, you will be listened to loud and clear. Thank you.
Well, they see, the province made a mistake. Like I said earlier, you know, George Smitherman was right in the Green Energy Act. You got to give him credit where credit is due, and give him blame where blame is due. They delayed the closing of the coal plants a few years, which we had more pollution, we needed not have. And you know what? Now that we're going to close all the coal plants, gas is the new coal because it's not a renewable energy source. If you want to be environmental, my friends, you know, and we all of us I think want to be environmental, we got to move on past those non-renewable resources. We got to go into wind power, we got to go into geothermal. The press building here is heated and air-conditioned with geothermal, and we got to go into solar power. Not to invest in another dead end, if you will, which is creating those health concerns like the lady rightly spoke about. That is the solution. And Toronto can do more, and the province can do more if really focus on that. Otherwise, we simply make a terrible mistake once again. Because, you know, in the environmental movement, as they say, gas is the new coal. You know, because it really is polluting as well. Not as bad, but it's not as good as what Mother Nature naturally gives us, which is the sun, the wind, and the earth. Those technologies are there. We can create a lot of green jobs, which we can then export and create wealth back here if we simply do that. So that's my answer to that, and thank you for the question. It's an excellent question.
Rocco, do you...
I think it is an excellent question because it really gets at the heart of how then do we go about making decisions going forward as a community. And I have a lot of time for the notion that Rob is enunciating, that we have to listen to the community. But how do we measure the boundaries of that community? If 3 people around it, does that constitute the community, or is it the greater community? And what are the facts? What are the facts in the case? I mean, I was quite disappointed, and I know that George afterwards was quite disappointed in himself when he dismissed the concerns that people had in Southern Scarborough around the wind turbines, right? Just called it NIMBYism. I don't think that's appropriate either. I think it's important to lay the facts on the table, have a discussion, because that's what leadership is supposed to be about. And there are times when, quite frankly, we can't get everything that we want. It would be lovely to say we can do everything with sun and wind and the earth, but we're in the northern climate. The solar power is not going to generate the kind of peak capacity that George talked about earlier. There will be need for some kind of technology that does that. Let's lay that all out. Let's have the discussion. Let's let the greater community decide.
Okay, Rocco Rossi, I believe, unfortunately, I think we were being told to wrap it up. We can't, unfortunately, everybody is on a fairly tight schedule. I apologize for cutting you short, but we are running out of time. Rob Ford, Joe Pantalone, Rocco Rossi, George Smitherman, mayoral candidates. There are lots of other candidates out there as well, so do your reading on them all, and please return to